What's up, you beautiful Redditors? Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. Welcome to the RNEWS morning show. And let's just jump into it. From r/World News. Trump had public meltdown over missed phone call from Putin, former number 10 aide says. Somebody just mentioned in passing that Vladimir Putin had asked for a call with him. And right in front of us he absolutely shouted down Mike Flynn, he said. Like really shouted. This was at a formal dinner with butlers and fancy crockery, and he was properly shouting at him. Down the table. He doesn't want to disappoint Putin. He's his #1 fan. That sounds more like fear to me. Like, oh crap, if I don't get back to him on time he'll release the tapes of 12-year-olds peeing on me and the record showing how much of my money is illegally tied to Russia fear. He also has the mind of a toddler and has emotional meltdowns instead of controlling himself. That's also the reason for his worst mistakes. He conditioned his team to only give him information he likes. Former economic advisor Gary Cohn described twice removing papers from Trump's desk so they wouldn't be signed. He's also the guy who called Trump an idiot surrounded by clowns, that is, less a person than a collection of terrible traits. Missed his quarterly performance review. Rating, 2 needs improvement. Just let Putin release the piss tapes. Probably wouldn't even faze Republicans at this point, they'd find a way to spin it. I can imagine they have tapes of him doing much worse given some of the people he's been associated with. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/News. Kenosha shooting suspect is a former member of a youth police cadet program, Illinois police say. What's the point of a youth police cadet program? Edit. I should have said, that's for rhetorical, right? As someone who has gone through a few cadet programs, I can pretty much say it's to indoctrinate kids into thinking cops are saints. In theory, it's to engage young people who are interested in becoming civil servants. Lots of career fields have youth training, and it wouldn't be a problem if we didn't have a corrupt, militarized, and bigoted police state. The funny thing is they only have these programs in middle-class plus white areas, which are least in need of police outreach. I mean, Christ, you have this young man basically sucking Coptic. These programs are about getting the children of affluent white people on the side of police so that as they grow up they are both compliant and supportive. In rougher neighborhoods, the police are the scariest thing on the streets. If the police really cared about outreach and not indoctrination, they'd run these programs in areas where the disconnect between the police and the street is most acute. Additionally, get rid of the crappy cops instead of trying to gaslight people into believing that we're just freaked up for thinking we deserve better, or that things really aren't that bad, or that we deserve it. They tried it where I'm at. Every other year police would come and talk about the perks, their best helpful stories. They were very nice and most were funny or charming. But it was never a cop from our area. Never the cops on the beat who treated us like crap. We learned that they think they are good people. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Boris Johnson's new Brexit trade advisor is former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott, who has been labelled an offensive, climate change denying, Trump worshipping misogynist. Australia is now exporting its criminals to the kingdom. We have come full circle. When I look back and remember these times, it will feel like the year was a grand spectacle, choreographed to be as bad as possible. I like the optimism that we will be able to look back. They've been exporting crap bags to America since the 80s. Rupert Murdoch is an Australian. We have exported Margot Robbie, Chris and Liam Hemsworth, Hugh Jackman etc. to make up for that crap C-word, and he still has a very strong control over our media. And Kylie, don't you dare forget about her. Forget about her. I can't get her out of my head. As an Australian, I'm so happy this dirtbag is not in our country anymore. As a human, I'm sorry that the Brits have to deal with his shit show now. Didn't Australia unleash Rupert Murdoch on the world also? I think we all have a lot of shitheads we have to answer for. As a German, I have to emphasize that a certain person was of Austrian offspring. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/Politics. The NBA strike is the most effective RNC counterprogramming possible. At the end of the day, if we're gonna sit here and talk about making change, then at some point we're gonna have to put our nuts on the line and actually put something up to lose, rather than just money or visibility, Toronto Raptors guard Fred VanVleet said Tuesday. We've gotta take responsibility as well. Like, what are we willing to give up? By acting now, the NBA's players offer a counterpoint to the GOP's police-oriented themes tonight. They could also momentarily steal the spotlight away from Donald Trump. For this president, that might be the bigger offense. Could 2020 be the year when USA rediscovers the general strike? That man is a hell of a role model. That comma on the other hand. This made me chuckle. Thank you NBA, WNBA and the MLB teams that boycotted games tonight. Your fans support your stand for social justice. MLS 2. Let's go NHL. 254 973rd active NHLers are American. 8 are Black and American. And only 1 is still playing in the playoffs. For the only Canadian team left, the playoffs are also being played in Canadian cities. I understand the desire for solidarity from all the leagues, but it does not surprise me that the NHL is playing tonight. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/uplifting news. Africa to be declared free of polio. A big frick you to anti-vaxxers. The other day I had a 70-comment discussion thread on Facebook with a person who claimed that it's not because of vaccines that they go away. He said the same of smallpox. He said they were already naturally disappearing before the vaccines. They will deny this too. It's incredible how willing you can be to ignore evidence to protect your dumb worldview. Yeah, but just think what will happen when Gates and Soros switch on the 5G microchips they've injected into all those people who are now also autistic. They'll run straight off the edge of the world and land on the set where they filmed the moon landing. Just Afghanistan and Pakistan to go. Then polio can go the way of smallpox. Good freaking riddance. That is, I am homestily speechless. A wonderful moment, and hopefully the start of a new chapter on fighting preventable diseases like this. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/news. Extremely frustrating. Mail delays for prescriptions hit veterans, rural areas, Nevada current. I'm a disabled vet and I have no idea when my hearing aids batteries will show up. But compared to some of my buddies I served with who are much worse off, they're in a bad place. Most of them were Trump supporters, but they've been slowly realizing he's a garbage person and have decided we need change. A lot of us fought alongside the Kurds too. So when Trump abandoned one of our longest running allies we were pretty pissed off because you don't leave anyone behind. Seems like this administration is really good at alienating its own voter base. As a fellow vet, I've always believed that it didn't really make a difference who was in that office when it comes to the day-to-day lives of people. Local elections are far more important. However, certain administrations are clearly exceptions. And boy is Trump freaking up people's lives. So my rule now has a corollary. Trump wouldn't be able to do this without the support of the GOP though. He's a symptom, but not the root cause. There's been no check and balance on his EOs, his acting heads of departments. And that's where we're going to end today's show. But if you like what you saw, leave a like, and if you want to see more of the RNEWS show, hit that subscribe button. As always, this has been the RNEWS show and I'll see you tomorrow.